Welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest is Randy Nelsen, Professor Emeritus from Lakehead University. So Randy, we were just talking about kind of the area you focused on, which is sociology of education,
Right.
and the example at Lakehead University of integrating some of our Indigenous history and culture into curriculum at the university. And how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So can you pull apart a little bit about that? Like,
Yeah.
there's whole structures within institutions, and you talk about the sociology is looking at the institutions and how people kind of interact within that context.
Right.
So there's a lot of people with a lot of different agendas at the university. How does this get integrated, and how well does it play out?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question. This is sort of the last couple of chapters of the new book. One way it's playing out is that there's this online education, this technology-mediated education, where you're not in person in the classroom. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of problems with that, some negative things to say about it. It is convenient for some students. On the other hand, I'm arguing for more attention to the in-person classroom and what goes on in that classroom. And to answer your question directly, I think we need to do more storytelling. Mm-hmm. And this is something we can pull from Indigenous culture. Of course, we don't want to co-opt that culture, but they are an oral culture. They are based in story. A lot of their culture is based in storytelling. And I think we need to do more of that in the classroom. What I mean by that is oftentimes profs will start with the abstracts, the concepts, way up here, and then work down to details. So it's kind of like deductive reasoning. I would rather start with a story that has a number of parts to it, and the details are there, and it's kind of inductive reasoning. And then you move from the details back out and up to the more abstract concept. And students get that a lot better. I've tried that in my classes. It works in lecture sessions. It works in small group seminars. We should do more storytelling. The other thing and that brings people into it because everybody has a story to tell.
Yep.
The other thing we should be doing, absolutely, I think, is more project work because that connects us to the community. That's one of the reasons I wanted to come on this show is I think we need to foster relationships between community and the university as community, but the larger community and the university. And project work does that because you can send students out to do something in the wider community and then they bring that knowledge back to the classroom. And I found in one seminar, one of the best ways to do that is to get students to volunteer in the community. Mm-hmm. And we all had different jobs that we volunteered, and then we brought that, of course it was a course in community sociology, but which helped, but we brought those experiences back into the classroom and then shared them with each other and talked about the way in which community and university can connect. One of the things about the new book that I wanted to do is to make what's strange to most people in the larger community, that is what goes on in the university, make that strangeness more familiar, and then vice versa, I wanted to make what's familiar to most people who spend their days inside the university a little more strange so they'd start to think more critically about what they're doing. So from the familiar to the strange and the strange to the familiar and getting community involvement. We need to do that at the university and a lot more of it.
Well, you've mentioned the book. Let's talk a little bit about that. So you've got a new book coming out, Degrees of Failure, University Education in Decline.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Do they still let you into Lakehead?
Yeah, they let me in. It's sort of, I'm biting the hand that has fed me for many
I know,
decades.
and that's what I'm kind of going, gee whiz, is your parking pass revoked or what?
Parking is a very interesting subject. There's all kinds of hierarchies within the university about parking and who gets the preferred spots and whether there's a plug-in that actually works with electricity in it so that you can get that cold weather start when you leave and leave the plant, as I like to call it. No, yeah.
There's a real hierarchy in education.
There is.
I from my days at university, it was really clear, when you first step onto the campus that you start off certainly at the bottom of the
That's
hierarchy.
right.
But you think you are.
Yeah.
But in fact, there are a bunch of people below you.
Yes.
Those folks that are actually looking after our immediate needs, that are cooking our food, and
The workers.
and the workers who are keeping the whole ship running.
And I make some reference to them. I don't do enough on them, but just to give you an example, workers who are known as administrative assistants and help the administrators, they're making like 1/4 of what those administrators are making in terms of salary. And yet they're doing all the paperwork, they're doing all the grunt work, while the administrators are off at conferences and wining and dining people and raising funds and so forth. And this is a real problem because there are vast disparities in the university, not only in terms of income, but working conditions, just general inequities that impact the way people feel about each other inside the institution. And I think we need to bring those more to the light. And students are right at the bottom among the active participants. It's not only the workers, the students. A lot of people think the university serves the students and we're there to teach and to educate students. Well, some of that goes on, there's no doubt. But the students, a lot of them today see it quite differently. A lot of them have become consumers. So there's kind of a consumer mentality among the students.
Consumer of education.
That's right. And when you have consumers, you have consumer needs. And so that you can even look on the websites. When we list the courses that you're going to take, we ask you to put them in your shopping cart. And just like you were at Amazon.
On the website. There's a shopping cart for
with
LU.
McMaster, I found this out.
Okay.
And then at the end, they send you to the checkout, all done by computer. But it's more than that. It's not only consumer needs, you begin to make demands as consumers, because after all, the customer is always right, okay? This doesn't fit very well with engaged conversation at the university. Conflict of opinion, airing different kinds of opinions. What should be scholarship becomes the consumption of an educational product. And combined with that is the notion of credentialism. So students are obviously there to get a credential. That helps them later on so they can get a job. And so the university is kind of, as one author put it, a giant sorting machine.
We need to take a quick break.
Okay.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back.